In a dealership, working together as a company is very important, whether it be in the sales process, whether it be through F&I, whether it be in service. It's a complete process. Not one individual or one department can take and make things happen by themselves.
You know, in a lot of dealerships you have the separation. You have the sales desk, you have finance, and you have fleet. And sometimes there are almost 3 different stores in one store. But breaking that ice, or dropping that wall, getting to know your fleet guys. Our relationship with our fleet guys is really close, which has allowed us to make more money. It's a lot easier to sell a commercial customer than it is a regular retail customer who buys a car once every 4 years. Commercial customers are usually buying 2 or 3 cars a year, if not more. So they're familiar with the process and what's all involved. And it is a lot easier to approach a commercial customer. They can see the value that's involved with what Ford has to offer, especially the maintenance packages. That's a big thing with the commercial accounts.
Within the office of the CAMs, we all have our current literature from Ford, from ESP, on each of the programs itself. We have the chart behind the customer, which basically shows the number of components it covers within the program. There are presentations that Ford provides that we're not using in the CAM's office initially, but in many cases we're using it in F&I, things like the cost per mile on the vehicle. We're trying to break it down so it's not so dramatic when you see a $1,500 or $2,600 cost, but when you break it down on a cents per mile basis, it's a little more sensible, it makes more sense to them, a way to make a decision. They're trying to run a company and they're looking to get in and get back out. But at the same time we want to make sure we have a complete sales process to a company, and we want to make sure we put them into the finance correctly. Prior to us going to finance, a couple things we've done. Hopefully I've presented a couple ESP products, so they have had a seed planted in their mind already before they get there. They've heard it once, and maybe sometimes you give them enough information, they're wanting to ask more questions.
In our dealership, we work really close together. We structure deals together before we send them out to the customers for bids. We see what the best value as far as should we do subvented rates, should we do standard rates, should we go with the rebates, can we package this up with ESP or maintenance. We work really close together with our accounts. Bringing us closer to them is bringing us closer to their customers, which has given us opportunity to sell product. And the bottom line is to make more money.
The last thing we want to do is to just have taken care of the front end of the deal. We want to make sure we have a complete package here, not only for the customer but for the dealership. Nothing would be worse if you got into finance and somehow they were capped off that they couldn't have any maintenance or ESP into their finance with Ford Credit. So we want to make sure that the finance guys know what they can finance, what's financeable up to what amount, and should the customer, in that way the dealership able to take and sell a product to help the customer, it's there for them.
Customers are going to buy from people they like. They like Bill. He introduces me. We set up a little touch base. Okay, what's the hot points? What's the weak points? Who are they? Who do they know? We usually find a common ground, just like any typical TO from a salesman.
But we're also putting in the bids ESPs. So we've learned to, although it's not part of the bid price itself, but we've learned to give, whether it be the county, the state, option and listing different types of ESPs, whether it be the powertrain, whether it be the premium care, and giving them a price in which they have an option to come back and buy that, not only on their current vehicles that we're bidding, but also maybe the previous ones that qualify under the duration of time.
We try to narrow it down to what the specifics of that company is going to need. Again, like shuttle vans, the E350s, the F250s, the diesels. We try to package it up. Bill gives me a heads up, hey, they do little miles, but they're going to keep this for 7 years. So we'll do a 7-year 48 wraparound, bumper to bumper, including maintenance. Focus just on what's going to be their biggest concern.
I think F&I always gives a presentation where sometimes in the commercial fleet department, we weren't always making that presentation. We're looking to get to the next deal as opposed to taking care of the current one that was in front of you. And if you think about that, it's really not fair for the account that you're working with currently. Initially, we weren't paid for the back end. That was an F&I thing. But since now we're a team, and it is selling ESP not only from the F&I, but selling it before they get to F&I, it's very important that everyone's compensated. We've learned over time that if you compensate the salespeople, the fleet manager, the CAMs, to present it to sell it, it's in their interest and they will sell it. Our penetration on ESP has been increased by going to the F&I. Customers I didn't think that would want it, wouldn't buy it, have bought it. And I guarantee when they come to the service drive, they've had that problem. I guarantee you they're very thankful that they do have that.
You're definitely wrong when you're thinking that your fleet customers aren't an opportunity for finance. There's a lot of money to be made, and our dealership has increased our back-end profits in finance because we are now touching our fleet customers.